Okay, the informal meeting of City Commission's called to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Here.
Dr. Estrop?
Here.
Mrs. Houston? Here. Mrs. Tackett? Here. Mr. Rue?
Here. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Commission. We have one work session tonight, and that is with Horton Hobbs IV, who is the Vice President of Economic Development for the Greater Springfield Partnership, and he is going to present on the Expand 2029 campaign.
Thank you, Brian. City Manager, thank you so much for asking me to come here tonight, and to Mayor Rue and your fellow city commissioners, thank you for the opportunity. First and foremost, I just want to also take the time to thank you for the tremendous support you provide to the Greater Springfield Partnership in terms of actually being an incredible partner to us. One of the ways that happens is certainly through your support of the Community Improvement Corporation, which is the economic development entity. And as a reminder, the CIC was created in 1970 as a partnership between our city, our county, and our business community through the Chamber of Commerce, and has been operating for more than 50 years in that capacity. Our board is comprised of the 5 executive committee members of the Greater Springfield Partnership, the Chamber of Commerce, and then 2 city commissioners and 2 county commissioners. So it is truly a public-private partnership. Back in, 2012, we launched our first capital campaign to raise money for our economic and workforce development. The way we typically procure that program financially is through support from the public sector. And when we began that, we were closer to 70% public funded and about 30% private sector funded. The goal is always to make that more 50-50. In fact, the goal is always to be more private sector funded than public sector funded. That first campaign, we had a goal of about $2 million, and we raised $1.8 million for that program of work. We launched a second campaign in 2024 called Expand 2024. And the goal for that campaign initially was $3.9 million, and then it was elevated to $4.1 million. And as soon as we launched that campaign, I think we all may remember what happened in 2020. We had a global pandemic, and we were forced to really resort to raising those dollars all via Zoom during that time. And we were successful in raising $4.1 million during that campaign. And over the last 5 years, we have seen tremendous movement on the economic side and community development side in this community. Lots of jobs created. In fact, over 7,000 new jobs created, an additional 1,500 jobs created as a result of expansions of those new companies. And all told, over 9,000 jobs retained in the community through those efforts. And I want to remind this group, and I think you know very well, economic development's a team sport. Yes, at times you need a quarterback on the field, but certainly our partnership with the city of Springfield is unparalleled, and we work very, very well together. We meet regularly. In fact, we just had a big team meeting yesterday. We do meet monthly, but our staffs commingle at meetings and through lots of different community events together, and we are a seamless team. We do speak with one voice. When we got to the end of last year, we realized that 2024 was the beginning of the end of that campaign. And if we were going to continue a robust program of work, we needed to first ask the business community in particular what we should be doing in the next 5 years to propel our community forward from an economic development and workforce development perspective. After 30 interviews or so, we ended up realizing that there was a great amount of support for a program of work that I'm going to review tonight with you very, very quickly. I only have a few minutes to do that, but I do want to focus on the 4 areas that we will be focused on. What's happened as a result of this is we're seeing tremendous feedback in a very positive way from our business community. And while we've faced many headwinds over the last several months in this community, what I have seen is an enthusiasm that's been unmatched by our businesses. There are no distractions to their success. And yes, the rhetoric that we've heard and the things that have gone on in our community could have posed a real challenge for us to meet our goals. But in fact, it's been the other way. The business community is very resilient here and sees tremendous opportunity at continuing to invest in this community and grow their presence in this community. So as we continued our interviews, it became very clear that we needed to do more in our schools. We needed to do more side by side with our employers. And that resulted in a very robust $6.5 million budget for the next 5 years, which is a 60% increase over the last campaign. A very big stretch. So I'm proud to tell you, as I sit here before you tonight, just about 4 months into the campaign with the goal of ending by the end of this year, we are at 94% of our goal. We've raised, as of today, just a little over $6 million, and that has come primarily from the private sector. In fact, about 60% of the funding to date will be provided by the private sector. So I have put in front of you a copy of our 5-year program of work. There's also a copy here on the table. And I want to remind the audience, but also you, the Greater Springfield Partnership is the Chamber of Commerce. It is our Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is the travel tourism arm of the community. And it is the Community Improvement Corporation, which is the economic and workforce development arm of the community. And again, this 5-year program of work does not happen in a vacuum. It requires all of our partners to work together. I'm going to direct your attention to this document. I'm not going to insult your intelligence and read all of it for you, but I do want to make a few highlights. On page 3, there is a very important letter in that document. And that letter was written by the mayor, the president of the county commission, and our president and CEO, Mike McDormand. And it does nothing more than to underscore and recommit to the partnership that our 3 organizations have had for over 50 years. And I'm proud to tell you it is really what is propelling us as we move forward. So thank you for that, Mayor Rue. Really appreciate your support. If you turn to page 4, there are just a few highlights of accomplishments over the last 5 years. By no means is this everything that has occurred, but there have been, just in this last 4.5 to 5 years, over 2,000 new jobs created and $380 million of new business output that have been realized as a result of this strategy. That's also resulted in nearly $1 billion of capital investments by firms within our community. And for the first time in our history, our property valuations in our community eclipsed $1 billion. That is a significant milestone for this community, and it's a sign of the tremendous opportunities we have ahead of us. Among the accomplishments that you will see is a robust beginning, if you will, of a robust programming within our school systems. What we realized 4 years ago, or really about 3 years ago, is that while we thought we had some great ideas and we thought every school district would want to partner, it takes time. And we have to build a coalition of the willing. And I'm proud to tell you now we have programming from just one school. Now we have it in every high school in Clark County, public and private. And we are really, really seeing impacts at the high school level in terms of partnership. And I'll explain that in here in a second. The 4 pillars of this campaign are the same 4 pillars as they were 5 years ago, because this is a marathon, not a sprint. Economic and workforce development take time, and they take a lot of cultivation. Our 4 pillars are cultivate local talent, build the economic engine, build a vibrant community, and attract talent. Those are the 4 primary areas we will be focused on in the next 5 years. It's about 68% of this program of work is around workforce and talent development. Those are the most critical items for our businesses as they seek to find available workforce that's skilled and employment ready, and also to continue to grow and invest in the community. So I'm going to direct your attention to page 5 of the document. And again, I'm only going to highlight a couple of the additions to this program over from the last 5 years and explain a little bit about more of what we're going to be doing. Cultivating the local workforce, and local talent, this is really all about the work we do within and to support our business community. It's the retention visits that we make with those companies to understand what their employment needs. It's led primarily by Amy Donahoe, our Director of Workforce Development, and Caitlin Tyler, our Talent and Education Coordinator. Amy leads those efforts, and Caitlin actually is the liaison between our schools and our business community, and they are doing incredible work. The most important addition to this program of work happened about 3 years ago, and that's Youth Science. We don't have time tonight to talk about Youth Science, but I would love to come back at a future date to talk more about it. In essence, it's an aptitude assessment. It's an assessment that all of our 8th graders and all of our 10th graders throughout Clark County are now taking annually. And it's a way for a student to understand their God-given abilities, their aptitudes. These do not change if they didn't have a meal that morning when they took the assessment, or if they fought with their mother or their father or a loved one or one of their friends. It's how your brain is hardwired. And we believe strongly that if students have a clear understanding of what their God-given abilities are, what their aptitudes are, and have opportunities to have experiences with employers and other opportunities in the community that will set them on a pathway to a brighter future, one full of opportunity, whether it be college, career, or military. This plan will allow us to go a step further with that program, and it will allow us to provide resources within each of our high schools so that every 8th grade, 10th grade, and 12th grader each year will have the opportunity by year 5 of this program to sit down one-on-one with an adult to understand their aptitudes. All of the students are taking the assessment today, but frankly, not everybody is getting a one-on-one sit down with an adult to help them navigate that and understand it. This program will allow us to do that. Initiative 2 is build the economic engine. This is what I call the blocking and tackling of economic development. This is the new job creation. It's the attraction of companies to the community, but most important, it's the retention of the ones that we have. About 82% of our program of work historically and moving forward supports our existing businesses. New companies coming to town tend to get the headlines, but it's the work that we do with our existing businesses and growing the ones that come that really is the hallmark of this program of work. And it's why we're seeing the successes we're seeing in terms of job creation and investment at all-time highs in this community. It happens because we have incredible partners working side by side with us each and every day. The primary piece of this is really the BR&E, the retention and expansion efforts that we do in each and every day. It's also to assist and come alongside organizations like the Small Business Development Center and provide additional resources to them as they do the important work they do to support small businesses in our community. But that work is the traditional work that you're used to seeing and the community generally sees externally. Initiative 3 is build a vibrant community. This is all about housing development, what I call income-aligned housing, to meet people where they are and have opportunities for them that are the basis of a livable wage and gives them an opportunity, upward mobility from rental to single family to multifamily housing. Downtown revitalization will continue to be a central point of this plan, as it has been for now the better part of 25 years. We will continue to work closely with our partners at the city and the county and others to make sure that the core of our community, the heart of our community, Springfield, Ohio, and downtown Springfield specifically, is as healthy as it can be. We've seen tremendous investment in recent years, and we will continue to see more, and I think the future is as bright as it's ever been. We will continue to be focused on that. One of the criticisms we often get is that much of the leadership of some of our companies doesn't live within our community, and we are going to take a very hardline approach to invite leadership of our local companies and invite them to live in our community. We have not always had housing opportunities to support their interests, but we will take the opportunity every chance we get to remind them not only is this a great place to work, but it's an incredible place to raise a family and enjoy life. So we will do more with that, and we will be better at that. The fourth and final piece is attracting talent. That is also a key piece. So we're building a pipeline with our work in the schools, but we have immediate needs that employers have to have a workforce that's available to them. In fact, today, 56% of our citizens get in a car or other form of transportation, and they leave for opportunities in surrounding counties. That's 32,000 people that leave every single day for jobs somewhere else. We know that people are driving by opportunities that exist here, and maybe they're not aware of them, or maybe they don't believe they're there for them, but we will do everything we can to ensure that those opportunities are made available. We're doing that in a number of ways, but most important will be clarkcounty.jobs, which is a very robust website that is a jobs portal, and that is created in conjunction with the Department of Job and Family Services here local. They've been an incredible partner to us as well. We are not duplicating their services. We're actually adding value to what they do. We will also add a full integration of the youth science assessment in 2025 so that students that have taken that assessment can create a profile, log in, and jobs in this community that equal their aptitudes will be displayed to them before they ever search for other jobs. It's a cutting edge tool. There is no other place in this country that is doing that work, and we're very proud of it. Those are the four big pieces. There's a full budget profile in this particular document. We operate with transparency, as you know, and that includes not just the way we operate and do business and our relationships, but also financially. And so we report quarterly to our investors via Zoom and in person, and we will be tracking this budget as we have historically, and we will be very accountable to the work that we're doing. The final piece that I just want to draw attention to is on page 14. We have had much success with this campaign to date because of the leadership we have around it. Our campaign is co-chaired by John Brown, Regional President of Park National Bank, and Maureen Sheehan-Macero, the Executive Director of the Wilson Sheehan Foundation. They have assembled a top-notch cabinet to represent this campaign. There are names on this list that are doing incredible work in this community. Each and every one of them is contributing financially, is physically involved in this campaign, and believes very strongly in this program of work. I absolutely believe we're in the position we're in today because of their leadership, and I'm so grateful to John and Maureen and others that have really stepped forward to help us achieve our goals. We have a little bit to go. We're about $450,000 short of our goal at this point, and it's incumbent upon us that we get there because that budget needs to be fully maximized for us to have the impacts that we anticipate. We believe, and I'll wrap it up with this, we believe that the efforts of this campaign will result in an additional 2,000 jobs created in this community, an additional nearly 1,500 secondary and ancillary jobs as a part of that, with wages averaging $27.20 per hour, truly livable wage, and over $176 million of new earnings and payroll to be realized by this community. This is a robust plan, but it can't be executed and it will not be successful if we don't continue to have the incredible partners that we have at the City of Springfield and Clark County government to help us along the way. So I want to thank the city commissioners for your commitment to this campaign, for your ongoing and tireless support of our organization and our partners, and for all you do to make this community an incredible place to live, work, and have a great time. With that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
I want to make a comment. I've always appreciated your hard work. I've said this before, the speed of government is like a barge moving down the river, very slow, moves a lot, but it's also our opportunity to partner with organizations like the Greater Partnership and others so we can move quicker and also be a strong partner in advancing Springfield. And I just appreciate your passion for the community. You know, Horton and his team have sat around, along with the city and others, have sat around the table and all the major businesses that have come to our community. And we hear lots of compliments from these businesses coming in from different parts of the world and landing here on how they were handled, how they were approached, the hometown feel, your presentation, and the partnerships that we have together. So just a super big benefit. If you want to grow a community, you have to have organizations like this and partnerships like this to grow. So I just want to make those comments to you and thank you for all your hard work. Other comments from commissioners?
Congratulations on the work to date. Quite a success story on many fronts. I remember there was a time when the team was not pulling together, and the lack of results showed that. Thank heavens, through your work and the work of many other people, we've learned that lesson, that we must continue to pull together if we're to achieve the successes that we want for our community. Keep up the good work, Horton. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Ash.
Yeah, I'll just say, I feel like you just started this, and to hear that you're already 94% to goal is incredible. So congratulations. It's a huge feat. I also would just like to add, I feel like a lot of people don't understand the true scope of work that the Greater Springfield Partnership puts in, especially to this community. So just thanks for everything you do. Especially really proud of the workforce development with kids and high schoolers. So thank you and congratulations.
I want to second that. Thank you for all your work and your continued work to inspire the youth in our community to stay here for generations to come and have opportunity here in Springfield and choose to grow up and live with their families here. So thanks for that work.
Thank you. My hometown, and there's no other place I'd rather be, and I intend never to leave this place. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting? Clerk, is there a second?
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mrs. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes. We got 10 seconds before we have to start this official hearing. We have 2 hearings before we begin our formal meeting. Thank you, Horton. Okay, the public hearing scheduled for 6:50 is called to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett.
Here.
Mrs. Houston.
Here.
Dr. Estrop.
Here.
Mrs. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Rue.
Here. Has proper legal notice been given for this hearing?
Notice of a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed change in zoning for 1.53 acres located at 401 West North Street, being parcel number 34006000542730 from DMC Downtown Medical Campus District and UPOD Unified Plan Overlay District to CN1 Neighborhood Commercial District and UPOD Unified Plan Overlay District, was published in the Springfield News Sun, a newspaper of general circulation within the city. Attached hereto is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on October 27th, 2024.
I move that the communication be ordered, received, recorded in the minutes, and filed.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mrs. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes. Staff report?
Good evening, everyone. The applicant here is requesting to rezone subject parcel as shown on slide highlighted in yellow from downtown medical campus to neighborhood commercial district. The building on site was constructed in 1998 as a pharmacy, Rite Aid. The parcel was assigned downtown medical campus district in 2006 and a unified plan overlay district in 2007. The land use of retail pharmacy is permitted within the current zoning district. Since the uses under medical campus district are limited to medical uses only, the use of parcel is restrictive and in the long term may not be viable for future occupants. The parcel adjacent to it towards the west, which is currently vacant, was recently rezoned to allow for drive-through uses. And so the owners of this subject parcel wish to conform to surrounding zoning district and expand possibilities for the parcel. The current zoning district allows for pharmacy use, but the Unified Overlay Plan District has a subclassification of hospital zone, which does not show much guidance on development of currently vacant building, if any exterior alterations are proposed in future. The proposed CN1 district allows for drive-through business and pharmacy retail uses, and proposed Unified Plan Overlay District subclassification of transitional retail mixed will provide guidance in development of property. Clark County Comprehensive Plan shows character area as institutional campus. The proposed rezoning aligns with future character of neighborhood and would support a drive-through business. West North Street is classified as 100 feet wide primary arterial public right-of-way or state road, and North Plum Street is classified as local road by Clark County Thoroughfare Plan. There is a vacated alleyway, which was vacated in 1973, to the west portion of the subject parcel, and it will be the owners or future developers' responsibility to locate any easements prior to construction. Return reports from city staff state no objections or concerns and recommend approval with comments from Planning and Zoning Division. The parcel was assigned the current zoning district in 2006, and the owners wish to rezone it to a CN1 district to allow for uses listed under CN1 district. Any other conditional uses listed under CN1 district will need a conditional use permit in future from Board of Zoning Appeals. The request was recommended approval by City Planning Board as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So a couple of the businesses that can be listed under the new classification would be drive-through restaurants, and fast food, things like that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Other comments from commissioners? Dr. Estrop?
up to tonight's meeting, have you received any objections or complaints relative to this request?
No objections or complaints received.
Thank you.
Comments from commissioners?
I'm just really excited to see this property being developed. OIC does a cleanup a couple times a year, and I always go over with them. And there's just so much trash accumulation there. And it's some of the most interesting things that we find in that space. So super excited to see that there'll be something developed there.
Okay. Is there any comments from the audience on specifically this hearing only? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn this hearing?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes. The hearing scheduled for 6:55 is called to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Here.
Mrs. Brown?
Here.
Mrs. Houston?
Here.
Dr. Estrop?
Here.
Mr. Rue?
Here. That's proper legal notice. Oh, I'm sorry.
Notice of a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed change in zoning for 0.207 acres located at 1709 North Limestone Street from CO1 Commercial Office District to RS5 Low Density Single Family Residence District was published in the Springfield News Sun, a newspaper of general circulation within the city. Attached hereto is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on October 7th, 2024.
I move that the communication be ordered received, recorded in the minutes, and filed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett,
Yes.
Mrs. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes. Staff report.
The applicant here is requesting to rezone subject property from commercial office zoning to residential zoning. The structure on parcel was built as residential in 1925. The parcel was zoned R3, multifamily use, in 1978. Sometime between 1985 to 2002, the structure was converted into a commercial office and has been used as an office since then. The current zoning district, CO1, allows for residential uses only above the first floor. The proposed RS5 district would allow for single-family use along with other permitted uses. Clark County Comprehensive Plan shows the area as mixed-use, low-intensity. The proposed rezoning aligns with future residential mixed-use character of neighborhood and complements the surrounding areas. Limestone Street is classified as 100-foot wide primary arterial public right-of-way, and East Harding Road is 80-foot wide secondary arterial public right-of-way by Clark County Thoroughfare Plan. There is a 14 feet wide public alley to the west of parcel, and it will be the owner's or developer's responsibility to locate any easements and or setbacks prior to any structural additions. Written reports from city staff state no concerns and recommend approval of applicant's request to rezone from commercial office use to residential single-family uses. This request was recommended approval from City Planning Board as well. Thank you.
Any comments from commissioners? Dr. Estrop?
My usual question, up to the meeting tonight, have you received any objections or complaints about this request?
There was a call from neighbor having a question asking if it was single-family use or multifamily use. And his question was answered with this request being single-family use only, but there were no concerns or objections.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from commissioners? Other comments from the audience on this hearing only? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes. Just wait a few seconds to begin our public meeting. The formal meeting of the City Commission is called to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Here.
Dr. Estrop?
Here.
Mrs. Houston?
Here.
Mrs. Tackett? Here. Mr. Rue?
Here. Please rise for the invocation and stand for the pledge. Father, I just ask that you would give us peace tonight, help us to govern with wisdom, and we just thank you for our community. In your name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag. To the republic which one nation, God.
Is there a motion to approve meetings from last meeting?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Here.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Got a statement to read before we begin with our public comments. The City Commission remains committed to creating a meeting environment that allows for civil and constructive dialogue as we work together on challenges facing our community. Tonight, we'll continue with public comment at the beginning of our formal meeting. Those wishing to speak must fill out a comment card at the table located just outside the forum doors. No new cards will be accepted 15 minutes after roll call. Failure to complete the card with the information requested will result in being ineligible to speak at this meeting. Speakers who reside in Clark County will be the only individuals invited to speak and must present either a driver's license or state-issued ID. If a speaker is found to provide false information, knowingly false information, on the public comment card, they'll be disqualified from this meeting and the next to speak. After the public comment period time, we will have the City Commission will have opportunity to provide comments back and answers from public comment. We will also ask the city manager and staff members to answer questions that they're able to following public comment period. Questions requiring additional research will be involved over the next couple of days. They will respond to you as long as you've provided the correct contact information. All questions not answered during the meeting will be posted on the city's website prior to the next commission meeting. Again, we want to create a conducive environment for constructive dialogue, and we will continue to learn and evolve as we continue to grow in this environment. After the comment period, we'll take a 3 to 5 minute intermission before proceeding with the legislative agenda. I also want to address recent discussions concerning immigration policies and the potential impact on our community here in Springfield. As you know, immigration and specifically the temporary protective status program remains fundamentally a federal policy issue, and the authority to make and enforce immigration policy and laws rest with the federal government. The city of Springfield has always and will continue to comply with the laws and regulations set forth by the federal government. We understand that recent statements by President-elect Trump include the possibility of increased enforcement actions, including potential deportations, which may result in communities across the country, including ours. To date, Haiti and its citizens remain a country that is eligible for temporary protective status. We will continue to monitor and await further guidance on this matter as the federal administration transitions. We continue to focus in ensuring that our actions align with federal directives and will prioritize the well-being and security of all our residents. As developments arise, we are committed to keeping the community informed and transparent about our role in supporting these efforts. I have comment cards. We will begin. You'll go to the microphone. You have 3 minutes. Please address the mayor and the commission. Wes Babian, you go to a mic, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commission. Being fully aware of the tenor of the times, I wish to affirm a better future for our community lies with the capacity to encourage diverse and growing population, such as we have seen with the coming of our Haitian neighbors. Immigration is one of the most important pathways to a better future. I know that the City Commission carries many responsibilities and that such change is never easy and does present many challenges. However, I would encourage you and others to find ways to collaborate and to continue to provide leadership in this regard. Growth economically, culturally, and in other ways, in my opinion, is positive. We have enjoyed good things in the past when these dynamics were in play with newcomers. In fact, Springfield could become one of those who leads the way to a creative future, not only for ourselves, but for our region, our state, and even our nation. That is my hope. E pluribus unum, out of the many, one. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to say your address because we are doing that. We'll continue to that 2121 Olympic Street. Thank you, Wes. Alora Lemcool, and that is 1420 Sunset Avenue. If you could go to the microphone, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, folks in the audience. Last time I was here in front of you, the following day was quite noteworthy in that that was the day that the bomb threats happened. Moving forward, I hope that that doesn't happen again tomorrow, but I would like to ask, following up on that, after the bomb threats, of which there were many, and the special emergency powers that the mayor was able to give to himself, I would like to know if those emergency powers are still in effect, when they will end, and will a detailed list be provided on the city's website for everyone to see the actions that have been taken up until this point in time. Second point, to the issue of the bomb threats, which were determined to be hoaxes, several stories have been in publication, one of them pointing to the idea that they may have come from bots. And we're all aware in technology today that things are able to be bounced around the globe. But according to artificial intelligence, I just checked. There's between 193 and 237 nations in the world, depending on the source. So my question tonight is, what was the actual physical location that the FBI determined to be the country of origin last recorded communicating those threats to City Hall? At the time, it was bantied around that, it wasn't going to be made public, national security. Okay, election's over, we're in the middle of a cornfield. National security are things like, spy balloons, and we all know who did those. So really would like an answer on that. And then I would also like to ask if this forum is available for a group to rent. Yes or no? Thank you.
Thank you. Diane Daniels, 40 Hedgeley Road.
Let me be clear. Our continued struggle will be focused on those individuals, businesses, organizations, both public and private, locally, who in any way encouraged, profited from, or facilitated the assisted migration from 2014 to the present day. We know for sure who some of these are. For certain, we know there are 95 because one is dead, who signed the pledge to the mission and purpose of Welcome Springfield. More on that later. I would like to formally acknowledge and thank the many brave citizens who over the past 3 years or more have presented themselves before this body, some more than once, to exercise their First Amendment right to have their grievances heard and addressed. Emphasis on addressed. I place particular emphasis on using the word bravery to also describe them because it took tremendous courage for some to speak for the first time in front of an audience and for all of us to show courage in the face of obstacles you set against us. What were those obstacles? First, you chose to ignore us, hoping that we would go away. Then you and others set out to bully us into silence with unsubstantiated accusations of racism, which did not exist. You and others tried to silence us by limiting us to our 3 minutes every 2 weeks. Sit down, your 3 minutes is up, shut up. Eliminating any discussion on your government social media websites, which I believe is in violation of the law. It not only creates an echo chamber for you, but it also fosters distrust in the rest of us. On top of this, and overriding everything else aforementioned, the faith community, some of which are NGOs profiting off of this influx, tried to shame us into silence and accept us by questioning our own faith and our convictions. While you ignored us, bullied us, shamed us, and tried to silence us, we persisted. You treated us as expendable, garbage, long before Biden made his statement. We knew what was happening here was wrong, and now we know for certain that America thinks it was wrong too. You took all of us for granted. You thought and still think that we Americans, citizens, are not worthy, that we do not fill your workforce requirements. You severely underestimated our collective courage and resolve. All who have spoken and will speak love our city, love our county, love our state, and more specifically, love our nation. To be clear, there is a new sheriff in town. It is not one individual, but a collective, we the people. It will no longer be business as usual in Springfield, Ohio, nor in Clark County. I can guarantee it.
Terry Atkins, 2721 Selma Road.
Evening, everybody. Few things that come to my attention. I was brought up in a meeting that was held. 200 Rosewood, still a problem. Illegal auto service, all hours of the night. Code enforcement has been there and back, and they're back. Nothing's been done again. And any news on the homeless shelters for the families? I'm kind of quiet. And here in a couple of days, it's going to get real cold. Don't know what's going on with that. Nice to hear some positive news. I've heard a little bit, but nothing majorly. And based on our illustrious Springfield newspaper, apparently some of our Asian neighbors are leaving because they're scared of what's going to happen. So is there anything being prepared by you guys for the departure that's supposedly coming due to the red tsunami that's coming? Haven't heard anything about that. Either the newspaper's not telling the truth or everybody's on a wait and see attitude. You know, we don't need to be left high and dry again. You guys are supposed to be really good, but aren't they home fighting for their own country? Our people did that many, many, many years ago. Why aren't they doing it? They're all wanting to run and get freebies. It's not good. And just wondered if there was any organization. Seems like they're doing a lot of organizing while they're here. Community center and this and that. Why aren't they organizing to take over their own country? You know, that would be the smartest thing for them to do. We just don't hear anything about it. Very puzzling. Thank you.
Linda Bailey, 732 Mound Street.
Before I start, I'd like to thank everyone up here and Harris and Biden voters for helping to elect Trump. Trump won 16 out of 27 city precincts, which is a clear majority of over 50% of Springfield's voting population. Some people claim we live in a democracy. Well, this democracy voted no to your pro-Haitian agenda and yes to the Constitution that you swore an oath to, the oath that you failed to abide by. I saw a video of a Haitian involved in an accident with no license plates on his car. The police officer allowed him to drive away from the scene. I see cars on the roads every day that are driving without license plates. And I would like to know who is giving these people permission to do that. Who gave the orders to allow Haitians to drive all over town without license plates? Is this how a DEI police chief performs their sworn duties? I would also like to know how a Haitian immigrant with multiple felony crimes on his record can acquire a gun and then try to smuggle that gun into our courthouse. He is supposedly a voice for the Haitian migrants in Springfield. Is that the kind of person they allow to speak for them? A gun-toting criminal with felonies on his record? He was quoted in a NACLA.org article from 10/15/24 stating, the HCA developed a driving program in Haitian Creole aimed at helping Haitians learn traffic rules to reduce traffic violations and enhance road safety. These initiatives show the Haitian community's determination to have a seat at the decision-making table and influence both their own future and that of Springfield. He feels comfortable enough to get up here and speak before this commission, knowing that he isn't the saint he portrays himself to be. I believe he's an informant for the FBI or CIA to feel comfortable enough to come before this commission with his background and pretend that he is an upstanding citizen. Because I know that if one of us regular people tried to walk into the courthouse with a gun, we would be in jail and paying thousands of dollars for an attorney to resolve the issue. Except we wouldn't do that stupid kind of stuff in the first place. We're tired of the double standards imposed by you and the other Bolsheviks in this city that made us into second-class citizens one step below Haitians. We voted against all that, and your time in power is running out. You have no one to blame but yourselves and the Haitians who couldn't seem to keep themselves from rushing here with their hands out to take anything that wasn't nailed down. You made this mess. Now tell us how you're going to clean it up, or are you going to let Trump do your jobs for you? Thank you.
Rachel Peters, 2355 Van Buren Avenue. Rachel Peters. Devin Hendricks, 121 Wilson Avenue.
I'm here again. So, yes, Trump's in the office now. One less thing to complain about. You know, now we could start moving forward. You know, and you know, I would think I'm the youngest one in this room, and it's like people is just arguing like they on the schoolyard, like just wham, 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 wham. So Trump's in office. Goodness gracious. Let's go. Let's move forward for Springfield. Shout out to the Haitian community. Shout out to this guy right there sitting in Jacob right there is doing major things that people don't see because they're too busy wham, wham, wham. And shout out to the board because they're doing things too to make things happen, Mr. Rue, you know. So just shout out to everybody that's doing something and not doing wham, wham, wham. Thank you.
Charles Jackson, 2212 Kenton Street.
Mr. Mayor, I kind of forgot what I was going to say after I listened to all this hate, but I would really like to know about this. Everybody is happy that Trump got elected, but they want to talk about the Haitians having felonies and carrying guns. Well, what do we got in Trump? Got 34 convicted felonies. Got to pay a woman $300,000 to have sex with her. I mean, come on now. So who's better here? Something with, like Trump, or the Haitian that got a felony, not 34, not paying women for sex? But I think what really needs to be done, my main point is that young lady, whoever she might have been, that started all this ruckus about the Haitians eating geese and ducks, I think that she should be punished, because if she didn't make that stupid comment on Facebook, Springfield wouldn't have a negativity around the world. Springfield was once known as an American city, but now it's known as a city with a dark cloud and darkness. And then we still got these racist people that come down here every 2 weeks, want to make their little stupid remarks, you know, and it's unnecessary. You know, the poor people, I can't say white because you'll probably say that's racist, but anyway, the white people saying the Haitians are taking the jobs. I believe the jobs was here before the Haitians come, and it ain't like they went over there at OSMI and say, hey, look, I want that white guy's job, get him gone, you know. So don't complain about something that you didn't have that somebody else that you don't want to have, you know, and that's just, you know, and I'm proud of you and the ladies and the doctor, Mr. Heck, and everybody else for the work you're doing, regardless the negativity you get. Thank you.
Bill Monaghan, 1323 Broadway.
Good evening. Hey, I ordinarily chafe at your demand that the public is only allowed to address the mayor. It's a brand new rule after 225 years in the city, a rule imposed by a mayor who's granted himself special dictatorial emergency powers, a restriction that seems to violate the First Amendment, and which he imposed not only to silence the public, but to silence his fellow commissioners. But it's okay, because right now my remarks are addressed to the mayor. I want to thank you, Rob Brew, for denying the citizens of this city and county a visit from the incoming president of the United States, Donald John Trump. I realize you did it in an effort to hide from America the absolute destruction and division you have put the city through because of your reckless policy of encouraging mass migration, rooted in your arrogance, greed, and misdirected self-loathing. It might seem I'm being sarcastic, but I thank you for blocking the president from this campaign stop. It certainly offended 2/3 of the voters in this county, and it cost local hotels, restaurants, gas stations, food truck vendors, and other small businesses hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of business. It'd be interesting to do a study of what kind of business you cost us this year. It was just another opportunity you denied your own people to hide the horrible job you've done as mayor and protect yourself from accountability. But despite your most hateful, worst, self-centered efforts, you accidentally helped save this nation from another 4 years of rule by your ideological allies under a Harris administration. Your insanely destructive policies to encourage mass migration, protect the perpetrators and the migrants from legal accountability for their many crimes, your efforts to hide that from the public got citizens to come to this forum on a regular basis to voice their dissent. And while you and your cronies on either side have chose to ignore us, bully us, and mock us, the rest of the nation listened. They realize that the crimes you are condoning in this community are happening all over the nation. Wherever crooked politicians team up with greedy business owners and misguided church-based nonprofits to steal hundreds of millions of dollars from future generations to line your pockets and pad your budget. So the people of America rose up to vote in a president, a Senate, and a House of Representatives that have promised to stop people like you. In the meantime, unfortunately, we're still stuck with you and your parasitic relationship with your own citizens and neighboring communities and school districts. I hope America returns the favor and steps in to help stop you from damaging and dividing this community any further. And you could help. You could start investigating the complaints you've ignored for years. You could dismiss the civil servants who've abused their public offices to pursue personal interest. You could start enforcing traffic law, housing code, and fire code.
Thank you. Your time's up.
Your time's up.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, if you take a 3-minute, actually, we'll do comments from commissioners and then let the city answer.
Fuck you.
We're going to take a 3-minute break. We'll come back, answer questions, and continue with the legislative agenda. then resume their legislative agenda. But before we do that, we'll have comments from commissioners, answers from city staff members on those questions that we can answer tonight. Go ahead and begin with comment. Dr. Estrop?
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I hope you will have a good and safe holiday. I also want to put a plug in for one of the positive, very positive things that goes on in our city, and that's Holiday in the City, which is scheduled to kick off November 29th at 5 o'clock. It's a great family affair. Downtown Springfield is lit up. There's a lot of fun, good things going on. So I want to encourage you to, if you can, and hopefully the weather will hold with us. It's a great event, and I want to encourage you to turn out for Holiday in the City. Thank you.
I had a couple plugs I'd like to put out. Volunteering is vital to our community, fostering pride and responsibility. The Committee for Keep Clark County Beautiful is seeking volunteers, especially high school, juniors, and seniors needing community service hours. They also offer a free cleanup trailer for churches, organizations, or neighborhood associations that want to borrow it. You can contact them at 937-521-2020. Also, in our community, we have the Master Gardeners, who have contributed an impressive 10,000 volunteer hours annually since 1993. They are looking for new volunteers. Please visit clark.osu.edu for more information. We are also organizing a blessing bag drive during Holiday in the City at Cohatch. Like Dr. Estrop said, it's November 29th, but we will be collecting from 3 to 5 p.m. We need all kinds of new items like socks, gloves, hats, toothpaste, chapstick, mouthwash, etc. And this will go to our local shelter and organizations to give back to the homeless community. To participate, you can email me at ttackett@springfieldohio.gov and I'll get you connected in. I want to thank the Temps, which is the band that plays at 5 o'clock. They are sponsoring this along with Cohatch for their support. I want to recognize and thank the incredible efforts of those organizing Holiday in the City, creating cherished traditions in our community for generations to come. I still remain thankful to serve our community in this capacity and appreciate all the people I've met along the way the past 11 months. I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, Springfield. Can I ask a question? Okay, I'm sorry. One of the citizens reached out to me about the encryption. And so I was going to ask City Manager Brian Heck or staff to speak on this for us.
Yes, Commissioner. So I'm going to ask Allison Elliott, our chief. She had prepared some information as it related. Just as everybody knows, we operate under the Marks radio system, which is managed by the state of Ohio. And we have been looking into encryption for quite some time and studying it and the impacts that it has on the safety of our officers, the safety of the public, and so forth. And so Allison has information to share about that and ultimately the decision to encrypt.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Rue and Commission. Thank you, Commissioner Tackett. Thank you for bringing this up. I know we have addressed it on several platforms, but I think it's good to just kind of hear from us again and reiterate. Please bear with me. I did put some detailed information together just so we didn't miss anything. And I will reiterate, if I do miss something, I always encourage people to reach out if they do have questions. I know Commissioner Tackett does get questions and she does reach out, to clear some of this stuff up. So, okay, so I would like to address the concerns recently, especially that were raised regarding our recent decision to encrypt our main radio channel. So we have been in conversation about this, just so I can clarify that. It didn't just happen as a snap decision. Some things over September did kind of create us to move forward a little quicker in that process, but we have been talking about it, and I'll share some of these reasons as to why. The concerns are deeply rooted in our community's desire for transparency, accountability, and real-time access to information about critical situations. I value these concerns because they reflect the trust and partnership we strive to maintain with all members of our community. Transparency and accountability remain fundamental to how we serve. However, I also want to fully explain why encryption was necessary how we are taking additional steps to ensure continued transparency, and how we can work together to keep Springfield safe. Glasses are falling up here. The decision to encrypt our main radio channel was not made lightly. It was driven by several priorities, two main priorities: the safety of our officers and the safety, privacy, and dignity of the people that we serve. Open radio channels have in the past unintentionally compromised safety. Sensitive information such as officer location, tactical plans, and even the personal details of victims or witnesses has been accessible to anyone listening. This creates vulnerabilities that could be exploited by those who wish to do harm, potentially jeopardizing the outcome of police operations. Equally concerning is the impact on individuals experiencing emergencies. Imagine facing the worst day of your life, be it a medical crisis, a violent crime, or another personal tragedy, only to have your name, address, and the raw details of the situation broadcast in real time for anyone to hear on a worldwide platform. This kind of exposure can compound an already traumatic experience. Encryption prevents these risks, allowing officers to respond effectively and safely without compromising operational security or the privacy of the individuals involved. We live in an age where information can spread across the globe in seconds. The open nature of traditional radio channels often exposes sensitive personal information, names, addresses, and details of crises to anyone listening. This is a serious concern as identity theft and fraud are on the rise. Encrypting the radio communications is one way we can safeguard this information from being recklessly or maliciously shared. Whether it's protecting a domestic violence survivor's location or an individual experiencing their worst moment, encryption prevents personal details from becoming public knowledge. Another critical issue we face is the compromise of crime scenes and integrity. When calls for service are broadcast openly, individuals have shown up at active scenes, sometimes interfering with their investigations or removing evidence. This not only undermines the justice process, but can have a devastating impact on victims and their families. Encryption allows us to maintain control over sensitive information, preserving the integrity of investigations and ensuring justice is served. While radio transmissions have historically provided some insight to police activity, they are not the most effective or comprehensive means of ensuring transparency. Radio communications are often incomplete and can lead to misinformation. For example, initial radio calls typically contain preliminary details as dispatchers work to gather more information. These first transmissions are shared quickly to ensure a rapid response, but may lack context or accuracy. When members of the community hear this incomplete information, it can lead to speculation or assumptions that do not reflect the reality of a situation. Additionally, follow-up radio traffic often does not provide updated or clarified details that emerge as officers are on scene and investigate, leaving an incomplete picture for everyone who's listening. To address this, we have implemented body-worn cameras for our officers. These cameras provide a more full, unfiltered, and accurate record of interactions and incidents. Body-worn cameras are a far more transparent tool than radio transmissions because they can capture overall a complete story, not just fragmented details. This technology ensures that the public has access to a factual and comprehensive account of our officers' actions while safeguarding sensitive information. One of the most important aspects of this decision I don't think we talk enough about is recognizing the humanity in every situation we respond to. Behind every call for service are real people, families, neighbors, and loved ones, often experiencing their most vulnerable moments. Consider this. How would you feel if during one of those most difficult or personal moments of your life, your name, address, and the details of your situation were broadcast to anyone, only to be shared across social media or misrepresented in the public domain? This is not a hypothetical scenario. It has happened several times. Transparency and accountability remain at the core of everything we do. Encryption of our radio channel is just one part of a larger strategy to modernize our operations and enhance safety without compromising trust. In addition to the body-worn cameras, we are actively exploring ways to improve how we share information with the community. For example, we are working on developing better systems for providing timely updates about significant incidents in a way that respects safety, privacy, and accuracy. We also encourage our community to take the active role in public safety. Programs like neighborhood watch groups are excellent examples of how we can foster communication and collaboration at our local level. These programs not only enhance safety, but also strengthen the relationships with our community. And I say this all the time, and I know you hear me say it. Safety is and always will be a shared responsibility between the Springfield Police Division and our community. By working together, sharing information responsibly, and fostering open communication, we can ensure that Springfield remains a safe and welcoming place for all. I understand and appreciate the concerns raised about encryption, and I want to reiterate our commitment to transparency. While this change was necessary to protect officer safety and the dignity of those we serve, it does not mean we are any less accountable to you. We remain open to your feedback and are committed to finding new ways to keep you informed while upholding the values of safety, privacy, and trust. Thank you for your understanding, your partnership, and your continued commitment to working with us to make Springfield a safer and stronger community.
Thanks for asking that question. Commissioner.
Yeah, sorry, were you done? Okay. I just think it's necessary to address the last comment specifically regarding commission guidelines. A lot of people don't know the current commission guidelines were approved back in 2019, so they've been in effect for over 5 years. We've just never had the recent audience that we've had for city commission, and we've never needed to enforce them likely. Is that correct, Brian?
Yes.
And
that is
then
correct.
last, I did also want to add, we can all speak on our own behalf. We're all independent, and the idea that anyone is silenced up here is untrue. Thought that was necessary to say.
Other comment?
In general, we ask that, again, Brian, Rob said at the top of the meeting that when we come down, we maintain a level of respect for everyone here. And I encourage that no matter what our differences may be, you still deserve and have a right to be heard. And so I just wanted to also encourage some humanity in our meetings and checking in to make sure if anybody needs anything after that outburst, shoot me an email if you just need to talk it out or anything like that, okay? All right, thank you.
We'll continue to protect the open discussion where people can have their 3 minutes. If we did not have a timeline, it would be like a filibuster. So we would continue to talk, and there wouldn't be any business of the city done. It would be nice if, and I don't mean nice in a way, we want to hear your concerns. We want to hear the concerns that citizens have. But the bullying and the browbeating and the insulting and the character assassination are flat out wrong. And if you choose to speak like that, it pretty much glosses over my ears. It's deaf to me because your facts are inaccurate. The people that did that aren't even here. So to me, that says I wanted to come to a microphone, say, yell, and scream, and do whatever I feel like I can do, and then leave, and not really care about anybody that I just spoke to or the city that I live in. That's what it just says to me as a citizen and a mayor. So just going to say that, but if you come with real concerns, and you do, there's people that are speaking within all that vileness have concerns and fears, and we hear those. That's why we have this time. But it's hard to hear it when it's all wrapped in that vileness. So we'd like to hear the real concerns, and hey, thanks for coming back. And then the one answer to you, the emergency ordinance, ma'am, since you did ask about the mayoral emergency ordinance, we're just going to answer it. You don't need to speak. Is that will be in effect through the month of November. This is only for the idea that if we were to incur any other concerns around the election for what we face and bomb threats and other things, the city can respond swiftly. But yes, if there's any question to what's happened during that time, Brian could even elaborate on. Since you came back, Brian has a couple answers to that as well. But we will be having a motion in the next meeting, I believe, to cancel this in the appropriate time.
Yes, Mayor, so the mayoral proclamation, I want to just everybody understand. So the charter, which is voted on by the citizens of Springfield that has been in place, allows for the mayor proclamation. So that gives him the power in a state of emergency to enact that. Specifically in this proclamation, it was for security-related items only, as it related to the threats that were targeted at the city buildings, city facilities, as well as individuals within the city. We will have a proclamation at the next meeting, December 3rd, to end that mayoral proclamation And yes, we can put up there any information on the website about what was done throughout that period.
Yeah, this happened back in during COVID. There was a proclamation, then the emergency. And this is also done by the recommendation of the senior staff members. This is not something that the mayor says, hey, we need an emergency proclamation. That's not what happened. There was actually a long day on the 15th, was it 15th of September? I believe somewhere around there. We were upstairs and the law director, the city manager, finance director come together and decide this is something we need to do so we can move in a way to protect the citizens. And so that is the parameters of the mayoral proclamation. So it sounds, and we were hesitant, it sounds much grander than what it really was. It helps us move in an efficient way so we can protect the city. So that's, I think, all I have. Thank you for coming back. There's other questions that have answers. Brian.
Yeah, so one of the questions related to the bomb threats and the bots and so forth, and where were they determined to come from? So that is an investigation led by the FBI. So we don't have that information of exactly where they have honed in on those bomb threats. Their information that they relayed to us was exactly that they were part of a bot scheme or plan, but did not tell us exact locations. We can certainly follow up with them. I don't know if they would provide that detail or not, but then citizens are also welcome to reach out as well as it relates to that, but it's their investigation and they are leading that. Question about the forum available to rent, yes or no? We've actually taken a pause on renting any, so forum, plaza, parking garage, esplanade, those types of things. We've been evaluating the rental of those spaces and have been for some time, especially when the plaza was under construction. It wasn't really conceivable to have a lot of group meetings and stuff. So right now, the only meetings that are carried out are obviously city commission in the forum, and then any of the boards of the commission that would meet in this facility. So we are evaluating the opportunity for those to be rented in the future, and we'll continue to look into that.
I think it's important to note, prior to the threats, we did have a couple meetings in here that were not city-led. Prior to the threats. So we do see it opening up again where these facilities can be rented.
Question was related about 200 Rosewood. I can say I know code enforcement has an active case on that. It's moved to the civil fine status process. There are tenants that live at that building, so we've fined the owner of the address, but then are also working to try to assess civil fines against the property owner. We have made contact and communicated that this is not a legal activity to happen on this property, and we'll continue through the civil fine process and work to try to relocate any illegal activity as it relates to the zoning code on this property away from that. There was a question related to it, just any updates on homeless shelters for families and so forth. I was going to have Ms. Logan Cobbs, our community development director, just give a brief update on their continued work as part of the direct service providers, the city, and other entities.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. I do recognize that it's been some time since I provided you all with an update, so just wanted to give you some brief feedback here. As promised, the city, in conjunction with many of our community partners, did conduct a census on October 16th. We encountered 92 unique unhoused individuals on that day. In response, the city will soon issue a RFP, a request for proposals, specifically to address those without shelter this winter, so that is forthcoming. Additionally, I've talked to you about the direct service providers and them continuing to meet. They have not met in some time. I did reach out this week and ask when is the next meeting, and although it has not been set, it's my understanding that a meeting will be scheduled in December of this year after the Thanksgiving holiday. So that'll be an opportunity for everybody to reconvene, give updates, and continue to talk through the planning process of our approach as a community to homelessness.
Dr. Estrom.
I think it would also be important to note that Shelter Inc., who took responsibility for our homeless population, has received permission to use some funding that had been designated to OIC, And so their services for the homeless are continuing. Now, I suspect, I don't know, that once this RFP is circulated, that there will be considerable interest in it from a number of providers. But I did want to note that Shelter Inc. is currently addressing the homeless issue with funds from OIC.
Thank you, Logan. There was a question related to an article that was published in the New Sun about Haitians leaving because they're scared. And then the question, I think, was how are we preparing for their departure? Again, currently under the Temporary Protective Status Program, citizens of Haiti are eligible under that TPS program into the United States. Nothing has changed to date on that. As far as any plans from the new administration, we have reached out through the state of Ohio, through the governor's office, for them to monitor and work with the federal government to understand what that might mean for not only Springfield, but across Ohio and other communities of the comments have made. So we'll wait for the state of Ohio. Andy Wilson, who's been here previously, as well as the governor, are looking into that for us. And then there were a couple questions related to specific incidents involving police, potentially one in the courthouse. Would need additional detail to not be able to speculate about what Haitians driving around without license plates. I can just say broadly, no order has been given not to anybody that is committing a crime, driving or whatever that may be. We continue to enforce the laws that we enforce as our police division and in our community.
Thank you. Okay. We'll continue on with our legislative agenda, starting with first reading ordinances by title only.
Amending the zoning map of Springfield, Ohio by rezoning 1.53 acres at 401 West North Street, Springfield, Ohio, from DMC, Downtown Medical Campus District, and UPOD, Unified Plan Overlay District, to CN1, Neighborhood Commercial District, and UPOD, Unified Plan Overlay District. Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract between the city and American Ramp Company for the construction of a pump track at Sherman Avenue Park to decrease the contract in an amount not to exceed $29,589 for a total amount not to exceed $320,411 pursuant to the Sourcewell Contract Purchasing Cooperative Program in accordance with the provisions of Section 9.48 of the Ohio Revised Code, and authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1. Authorizing the city manager to enter into an amendment number 2 to the cropland lease agreement with Jeremy and Taylor Renner Farm to increase the amount of tillable farmland by approximately 10 acres, and confirming and approving related services provided by Jeremy and Taylor Renner Farm from May 7, 2024 to the passage of this ordinance. Confirming and approving the submission of a pre-application through the Federal Aviation Administration for a fiscal year 2025 entitlement and apportionment program and fiscal year 2025 bipartisan infrastructure law program grant in an amount up to $1,290,000, authorizing an expenditure of up to $64,500 to be used as local matching funds, and authorizing the city manager, law director, airport manager, and the director of finance to do all things necessary for the submission of the application and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements. Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract between the city and the Shelley Company for the runway 1533 pavement rehabilitation and lighting replacement rebid project to decrease the contract in an amount not to exceed $53,219.30 for a total amount not to exceed $5,005,456.70, and authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1. Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract with Seven Brothers Painting Incorporated for the elevated storage tank rehabilitation to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $6,700 for a total amount not to exceed $1,225,162, and authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1.
Are there comments from commissioners on first readings? Dr. Estrop?
Obviously, I'm very pleased to see the two change orders are for reductions in costs. And I wanted the item 057-21, that's property that the city owns out at the airport, is it not?
Yes, this is off of Westbley Road. It's approximately 10 acres that are being added into the current cropland lease agreement with the Renner Farm family.
Very good. And the storage tank, in case people are wondering, is one of our water.
Yeah, these are the 3 storage tanks that were painted this year, so you'll see that they have been done and with the new logo and so forth, but this was for some specifically extra caulking around the roof on the East Main water tower up there across from Greenmount.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments from commissioners on first readings? Comments from the audience on first readings only? John, the mic, please. Name and address.
John Francis, 15 Inglewood Road. About the change order for the reduction to American Ramp Company, is that a result of something coming in under budget, or was the project dialed back a bit?
Yeah, so actually what happened is there was some landscaping associated with the project, and the Clark County Park District was able to take on that landscaping in-house. And so that created a reduction of the almost $30,000 to their contract because we did that work in-house.
Okay, awesome. I just wanted to clarify because
Yep.
that's a really cool piece of property, and it does have attention from people outside the community. And so I
Yes.
just want to make sure we're not turning a blind eye to, that project. So.
Yep, nope, not at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, clerk will continue with second readings. Reading.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into an A101 agreement with Brumbach Construction Incorporated for the construction of a new fire station to be located on North Thompson Avenue for an amount not to exceed $4,996,000.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commissioners? Dr. Estrop?
Again, I think I asked this last time we met, but this is considerably lower than the cost of our other fire stations, is it not?
Yes, that is correct. And I was going to have Jason Byer, Deputy Director of Public Safety and Operations, just give a overview of the project and the bid specifically here.
Good evening, and thank you for your question and continued interest in these projects. As stated, this is for the approval of the contract with Brumbach Construction for construction of Fire Station Number 5 on North Thompson Avenue. If you recall, the existing Fire Station Number 5 at 1707 Commerce Road was built in 1972. The building has passed its useful life, and our goal is to create an inclusive space that reflects the makeup of our fire and EMS personnel and also our modern equipment. In regards to funding, the city originally bid this project out as a 3-station package. But as we normally do, our finance department, our service department, our project managers continue to monitor costs. And despite that normally being the way we save money, noted that costs were coming down and that it made more sense to bid out this last project. For comparison purposes, to a savings of $600,000. For comparison purposes, the cost of Station 8 cost $523 a square foot, Station Number 6, $577, and this final station is chalked in at $481 a square foot.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes, continue with emergency ordinances, please. These need 4 votes out of 5 to pass.
Amending the zoning map of Springfield, Ohio by rezoning 207 acres at 1709 North Limestone Street, Springfield, Ohio, from CO1 Commercial Office District to RS5 Low Density Single Family Residence District and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Confirming purchases and obtaining of services for the city and providing for payments therefore and declaring an emergency therein.
So
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commissioners? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Providing for supplemental appropriations within various funds and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Amending ordinance number 23-381 to revise the transfer of monies authorized and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to apply for and accepting funding from the Ohio Department of Transportation for the fiscal year 2025 Urban Transit Program Grant for operating assistance and preventive maintenance in the amount of $434,239. Authorizing the city manager, finance director, and law director to perform all acts and execute all documents they consider necessary to fulfill the city's obligations under said grant applications and corresponding agreement, and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements, and to provide assurances and additional information as required by the Ohio Department of Transportation and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners? Dr. Estrop?
Are we still examining the conversion to a different transit system? I assume this is used for operation of our mass transit system. Are we still looking at revising that?
Yes, Commissioners. So this is our annual operating assistance and preventive maintenance funds from the state of Ohio for our transit operations. A new RFP, if you recall, we put out an RFP and received no responses for looking at switching to the microtransit system. We spoke to some of the interested parties as it relates to just the concerns and why they didn't respond. Took that feedback, and then we just released a new RFP last week that'll open up sometime around the beginning of the year. And we would look to hopefully award, assuming we have some proposals with a mid-year start range for 2025 for microtrans.
As I recall, this is a whole relatively new venture for cities to put in place this kind of public transit system.
Yeah, it is. There are certainly other examples of microtransit systems across the country, but really what it comes down to is with a lot of the transit funding for so long, it was kind of a cookie cutter approach. You received the funding and you were expected to operate your system just like any other city. So Springfield was supposed to operate their system like a larger area like Dayton RTA, Cincinnati, Columbus, and those types of communities, and that just doesn't work. And we have found that, and so we want to offer the most efficient and effective service to our citizens, hopefully being able to expand hours and so forth to help individuals especially get to work so that we can cover all three shifts and so forth, and that's what the microtransit system would allow us to do.
Thank you very much.
The comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and enter into Water Pollution Control Loan Fund loan agreement with the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency and the Ohio Water Development Authority to finance a portion of the city's 2024 Henry Street Sewer Replacement Project, authorizing the city manager, finance director, and law director to do all things necessary to implement said loan application and agreement and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Are there comments from commissioners?
Yes, I was wondering if you might give us a little more, or Chris, give us a little more detailed information.
Yeah, I can have Chris Moore speak to this item. Thanks, Chris. This item and the next item are related. So this is the funding in place, and then the next one awards the contract.
I'll speak to the construction, and Katie can follow up with anything related to the funding. This will help us relocate a sewer that runs through Cohen Brothers property. Some would call it Staker Alloway over off of Lagonda Avenue. We have a sewer that runs right through the middle of their yard. It's in pretty bad shape. It is also connected to a combined sewer overflow. This will relocate that sewer. It will lessen the combined sewer overflow and upgrade the sewers in the area. But coincidentally, there's some water lines in the way that will get replaced because we can't do the sewer work without ripping those out.
Will this help us with some of, when we get those heavy rains, some of the overflow that EPA is constantly on us about?
Yes, it absolutely will. And that, as Katie jumps in the funding, she'll explain how it all ties together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Commissioners, again, this first item is for the authorization to enter into a water pollution control loan fund agreement with Ohio EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Ohio Water Development Authority, or OWDA. This loan does not qualify for principal forgiveness. The project has, though, been nominated for potential grant funding, and the Ohio EPA has indicated that this would be a strong candidate because, as Chris mentioned, it addresses the reduction of combined sewer overflows. We anticipate an announcement regarding the grant in the summer. The current estimated interest rate is 2.84%, which is advantageous for the city given the current interest rate environment. These favorable rates are made possible through state level programs like with the Ohio EPA and OWDA, which over time reduce the burden on our community.
Thank you. Are there comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Majors Enterprises Incorporated for the Henry Street Sewer Replacement Project for an amount not to exceed $1,678,141.69 and declaring an emergency therein.
So
Move.
second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commissioners, from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a subaward agreement with the Ohio Mayor's Alliance Foundation to accept funding in an amount up to $100,000, confirming and approving related expenditures incurred from July 1, 2024 to the passage of this ordinance, authorizing the city manager, Director of Finance, and Law Director to perform all acts and execute all documents considered necessary to fulfill the city's obligations under said subaward agreement and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'd like to call on Executive Director of the Ohio Mayor's Alliance, Carrie McCarthy, who has been a tremendous support to the city of Springfield. I'll let you talk a little bit and I'll have some comments after you're done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Rue, and thank you to the city commissioners and City Manager Heck. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. It is a great honor for me to be able to announce this Emergency Relief Fund Grant Award to the city of Springfield to help with some of the costs that were incurred during a really an unprecedented period of time for the community. in September, a group of mayors and myself came and met with Mayor Rue and his team. The mayors asked how they could help. And a couple things that we heard were some unexpected cost challenges for the city and some additional security support for some meetings and some other things that were happening during that time. So the mayors at that time committed to providing some mutual aid, sending some officers over where needed, and then also to establish an emergency relief fund. And we put that together. The mayors went to work tapping into the philanthropic community throughout the state and throughout the Midwest, and were able to raise some revenue through foundation-related grants to create this emergency relief fund and provide $100,000 to the city of Springfield to help cover some of those costs. I want to recognize some of the foundations here in Ohio. The Dayton Foundation played a very important role in this. The George Gunn Foundation out of Cleveland also contributed to this fund, and we're very grateful for our philanthropic partners. The mayors that assisted in this and attended the meeting with Mayor Rue back in September, Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther helped kind of lead the contingent to come out. Athens, Ohio Mayor Steve Patterson, Dayton Mayor Jeff Mims, Dublin Mayor Chris Amorose Grooms, Cincinnati Mayor Aftab Pureval, Akron Mayor Shamus Malik, Toledo Mayor Wade Kapsagavich, former Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley, and former Ohio Governor Bob Taft all joined us for that meeting and all pitched in to help in the follow-up work to provide some support to the Springfield community. So I'm very, very, very happy and honored to have this opportunity to present on their behalf this grant award. And I'd also just like to say thank you, Mayor Rob Rue, for leading your community through a very difficult time, and to the city commissioners and to the city manager for all the work you did in really an incredibly difficult situation. You know, I've had the opportunity to work with our cities over the last 8 years, and we've had weather crises, we've had social unrest and protest, we've had a lot of really challenging situations that I've seen our city leaders deal with. And in no matter the circumstance, I think it's really remarkable that city leaders always kind of step into the breach. And I'm just grateful for the work that you did during a difficult time to keep your community together. I'm very proud of the fact that I was a Springfield resident for 4 years as I attended Wittenberg University, and I'm grateful for all the work that you did during that time, and grateful for the work you continue to do. So thank you, and I'm really pleased to present this award tonight. So thank you.
Well, we humbly accept it, and I want to say your work through this alliance in the short time that's existed has been phenomenal, and you're passionate about this. And this is the second largest support that we've received since the time we were thrust into the national spotlight. The first, of course, was the state of Ohio with what they did with primary care, but the mayors to come together, and this is a nonpartisan, bipartisan group of mayors that are coming together just to solve problems, because that's primarily the goal of the mayors and the city commissions, are to just solve problems in their community. And so this is a wonderful group of leaders that have shown their support, and we truly appreciate you, and we accept this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if somebody wants to legally write us a $100,000 check, we will applaud for you. So thank you. Okay, I said legally write us. Okay, thank you. All right, is there other comments from the audience? Other comments from the commission? I didn't ask, I just spoke.
I want to say thank you, and just to have experienced the things that we went through, and being so personally impacted by the death threats and things of that nature. So I'm so appreciative to everyone that came together to offer support to our city, as well as to our commissioner and mayor, as well as Brian. I just wanted to say thank you.
Dr.
Esprott.
Thank you, and please forward our thanks to the mayors, the other mayors. We sincerely appreciate their interest and support and your personal involvement in this. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and please thank the mayors for us and Tiger up.
Yeah, I think we'll get to do this in December. We have an annual meeting in December, and I'll be able to thank the Alliance as well on the behalf of the city of Springfield. So, okay, is there comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 5 to the agreement between the city and Marker Incorporated doing business as Marker Construction for the construction of a new fire station to be located on South Limestone Street to decrease the agreement in an amount not to exceed $46,001.47 for a total amount not to exceed $7,219,318.99 and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement by and among the city, the Board of County Commissioners of Clark County, Ohio, and the Clark County Engineer, providing for cooperative maintenance of certain roadways and providing for a policy and system for issuance of highway-related permits and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I think we can make this plain by saying there are parts of the community that is also county and city roads, and we share in those maintenance burdens. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Other comments from commissioners? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into agreement number 41846 with Carpenter Marty Transportation Incorporated for the CLA CR 374/333-0.79 /10.66, also known as CLA Springfield Resurfacing 2026 for an amount not to exceed $25,888 and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners? You want those numbers again, Dave?
Yes.
Okay,
Could
go
you
ahead. No, go ahead,
could you
please.
repeat
Go
those?
ahead.
What
Sorry.
is this beyond these numbers?
Yeah, so this is awarding or entering into an agreement for the design of a couple different paving projects, specifically Bechtel Avenue from the railroad, kind of right there by the Dairy Queen, and State Route 41, and then Villa Road from Durr to Middle Urbana Road. So these are projects that we were able to leverage federal dollars into our community to help with additional paving beyond just our neighborhood streets, and those are the two roads that will be designed and then ultimately paved.
Thank you.
Comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Confirming and approving applying for and accepting an EMS Priority 1 training and equipment grant in an amount up to $3,392.36 from the Ohio Department of Public Safety, Division of Emergency Medical Services to be used for the purchase of new thermometers for 7 medic units, authorizing the city manager, finance director, law director, and the chief of the fire division to perform all acts, deposit all grant funds, and execute all documents they consider necessary to fulfill the city's obligations under said grant and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Brown? Mrs. Brown?
Yes, he's still at home. But for Mrs. Brown,
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Awesome. Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Are there any new items on the agenda?
There are none.
Is there announcements, other announcements from commissioners?
I have some of the Blessing Bag Drive flyers. If anybody can take one and put one out at your business or church or organization, I do have a few here.
And I wanted to announce the Gammon House, the Peanut Shop, and also Cohatch. They're having a gingerbread festival on December 6th of 2024 from 5 to 8 p.m. From 5 to 8, there'll be gingerbread house decorating, and they're asking for $5 per child, and those benefits go directly to the Gammon House. And then from 6 to 8, there will be photos with Santa. Those are free. And then at 6:30, there will be a bell choir performance. So it sounds like a really cool event. Yes, it is. Thank you. Thank you. Myers Market in Springfield. And that's 101 South Fountain Avenue in Springfield, Ohio. So it sounds like a really cool event. So I encourage everybody to come out.
By the way, those are all pre-built. You just walk in and decorate. It's nice.
Oh, nice, nice.
Or you just sit there and eat your house.
Okay, it's even better.
That's what my son would do. Go ahead.
Santa is flying in to Springfield Beckley Municipal Airport at 1 o'clock on December 15th for a preview. This is not the real deal. This is not the Santa delivering presents, but this is Santa coming early so all the children and adults can preview his visit later on. It's the 15th, that's a Sunday at 1 o'clock at the Springfield Municipal Airport.
Since we're talking about Santa, has anybody heard where we can send letters? Is anybody taking them? Doesn't the fire department take them or no?
Oh, wow.
No? Yeah.
No.
No.
I always thought we took those to the post office.
So to answer that question, we're reevaluating. So Fire Station 8 on West Pleasant used to have the Santa mailbox that people could put in and get responses. So I'll follow up with the new Fire Station 8 or one of our other stations to make sure we have those out and so we can put it out to the community.
Perfect. Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.